events that the Chamber puts on. Chamber's events are always well attended. This one in particular, we've brought out a few extra chairs, so hopefully everyone has a seat. And thanks for having some patience with it. Monroe Bank and Trust is going to be extremely busy in 2019. We've got a lot going on. Our new office in Plymouth, which is on Haggerty Road between Lilly and, it's on Ann Arbor Road between Lilly and Haggerty. We broke ground on December the 5th. The foundation is in, block is going up, and we hope to have that completed June-ish. So more to come on that. And we're extremely excited about 2019. A lot of good things going on in the company. We're growing, continuing to do good things in our community. So thank you for being here. And I'm going to ask Mike Pisonic to step forward. I think everybody knows Mike Pisonic, our county administrator. Mike and I are going to moderate, and Mike, I'll let you kick it off.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. You seem a little tight this morning, and meetings past, I think there was a round of applause for our sponsors, so let's do that collectively. So on behalf of our elected and appointed panelists, it's a pleasure for us to be here with you this morning. When Michelle called me and asked me about an all-county lineup of speakers for the state of the county, I said, sure. And I said, Michelle, what about a panel discussion? The line went kind of quiet. And then she said, Pisonic, are you sure you can pull this off? I said, Michelle, I gotta be honest with you. I don't think that I can pull this off, but I think that I can assemble an all-star lineup of panelists, and I know that they can pull it off. So let me get right to those introductions. Let me start on my far right, your left. The Honorable Jack Vitale, Chief Judge, 1st District Court. He's been a judge since 1999, and prior to that, he served the county as an assistant prosecutor. Next to him, Major Troy Goodenough, Mayor.
Skip one.
Oh, I missed you. You guys are gonna have to switch chairs because you're messing up my script. Mark Ramsey, Director of Central Dispatch. His agency dispatches emergency calls for 8 police agencies, 21 fire departments. They have a budget of $3 million, a staff of 24. Mark has been with the county for 14 years. Now, Mr. Troy Goodenough, Manager of Jail Operations, responsible for 2 correctional facilities, 360 inmates, a staff of 70, a budget of $9.7 million. Troy's been with the county for 28 years. Mr. David Thompson, Monroe County Drain Commissioner, elected in 2012. He served 18 years in the Drain Commissioner's office prior to his election. He serves as the county agent responsible for managing water and sewer systems and is the current president of the Michigan Association of County Drain Commissioners. The Honorable Michael Weipert, Chief Judge of the 38th Judicial Circuit Court. He's been a judge since 2004, and prior to that, he was the elected county prosecutor. Mr. J. Henry Levens, Chairman of the Board of Commissioners since 2015, and an attorney by trade. Henry represents the 16,000 residents of the 9th District. He is the 2nd most senior member of the Board of Commissioners, and he is beginning his 15th year of service. Ms. Stacy Goins, Director of Employment and Training, Michigan Works Office. She's been with the county for 11 years. Last year, she and her staff served over 8,000 customers, of which 386 customers were military veterans. And last but not least, Ms. Kim Kamerzan, our Public Health Officer. Kim's been with the county for 19 years. She has a staff of 58 with 16 different specific public health program areas and a budget of $5.5 million. Each of our panelists are subject matter experts in their respective fields. I want you to know that there's a spirit of collaboration and a genuine teamwork that exists between these and all the other top elected and appointed officials of the County of Monroe. They work each and every day to make sure that they're delivering results for our community, to make our community better, not just today, but tomorrow. As I indicated, Mr. Chafin's going to help me with the moderating. This is a moderated panel discussion, so amongst the panel members yourselves, feel free to jump in. but Doug and I will help shape some of the questions and some of the conversation. So, Doug, would you like to begin?
Okay. Thanks, Mike. Now, Mike and I are going to just probably walk around a little bit, and we're going to try to project so we can leave the microphones to our panelists. So if you cannot hear us for any reason, please wave your hand and let me know. But we're going to start with our chief judges, and Judge Vitale in particular. There's a lot of things happening in the court system, Judge, that really impacts those of us that use that system from time to time. There's specialty courts that are becoming more popular, and we now have a mental health court and a veterans court. Can you talk a little bit about the goal of this system and what we're trying to accomplish?
Yes. Excuse me. First of all, I'd like to thank all of the sponsors. I'd like to thank Michelle and the members of the chamber, and Mike Sonic, Doug, everyone involved in bringing us to the table here. It's, as he said, it's different, and we're very pleased to be part of it.
Can't hear you, Judge.
So I'd like to thank everyone for inviting us here. Michelle, the chamber, sponsors, Doug, MBT, Mike, and it's a different approach, and we're glad to be part of it. Second, having said that, could you arrange to have it the week before or after the college football playoff night? All right. Speaking of non-traditional, the specialty courts are on the rise throughout the entire country, but especially in Michigan. I believe that Michigan probably leads the nation in the number and types of specialty courts. They're a non-traditional approach to problems, legal problems and social problems. That is not to say that the traditional approach is wrong. It's just different. And the mental health court in particular has been on my radar for quite a while. We were able to get that running in 2016. We received our first operational grant in October of 2016. We took baby steps along the way, just like any program does. We, in 2017 and 2018, have doubled the amount of grant money that we initially had. We've also doubled the number of participants. We'll be meeting tomorrow. We have a team meeting on Tuesday before our court session. And we have court the second and fourth Wednesday of each month. And tomorrow we'll accept 2 more people, and we'll be at our maximum of 25. So the non-traditional approach is that we bring together fantastic partners. We partner with community mental health. We partner with the Sheriff's Department and law enforcement. And I cannot tell you how much I respect the work that those 2 organizations bring to the table, especially Troy Goodenough, Major Troy Goodenough, who will explain what he's doing, which is setting a statewide standard for jail diversion and other mental health issues in the jails. We partner with them. We partner with peer specialists from Salvation Army Harbor Light, our district court probation office, and a defense attorney specialist, currently Jan Landis from Mr. Graham's office, and Jeff Yorkie out of the prosecutor's office. So we come together and we identify people who meet the qualification for participation in the mental health court. They have to be people who are diagnosed with serious mental illness, serious emotional disturbance, or a developmental disability. And the severe nature of the mental illness or functional impairment must necessitate intensive clinical services. In a traditional probation, people will report once a month to their probation officer, and they may be screened for alcohol or drug once a month. In this particular case, number 1, the program is voluntary. Number 2, there is intensive oversight. They meet with their probation officer 2 times a month. They meet with the community mental health 2 times a month. They meet with psychiatrists once a month, group sessions 2 to 4 times a month, There's random drug screening, a minimum of 8 to 12 or 14 times a month. And we've met with some tremendous success. I could go on, as you could tell. I'd probably rather field questions if necessary. Tara King, who is the director of the Mental Health Services, is here. We have some handouts in the back. We have a card on suicide prevention. We have a handout for the mental health court describing it in detail. We have a contact sheet, and we also have an application form. We accept applications from anyone. Of course, a person has to be in the legal system, and but the referrals can come from anyone. Right now, and I'm sure Major Goodenough will hit on this, there are 2 community mental health representatives in the jail, and they screen people every day. We get a ton of referrals from them. As an example, we've been in existence since October of 2016. We've had almost 300 total referrals. We now have 25 members. We've graduated 3 people. It's a mandatory minimum 12 to 18-month program with a 6-month step down. So it is intensive, and it's not something that it's not just hit and miss. We spend a lot of time with these people. And I'm very, very excited about the program. It's, as I say, it's non-traditional, so I've been in the law for a long time, and it's nice and refreshing to take a little different approach to things.
Thank you, Judge. We're going to have time for some questions and answers after the panel has a chance to talk. This is a great kickoff to the commentary this morning. I want to stick with, for now, the court system as a theme and move on to Chief Judge Weipert. You know, Mike, the Michigan Indigent Defense Commission, I'm from Indiana, I can't say that real fast. The MICDC has new standards that will impact those criminal defendants using public defenders. What's changing in the Monroe courts related to this? That's one of the questions, and the follow-up is what's Monroe County doing to implement those standards?
Oh, thank you. It's not a middle button. We on now? Before I get to that, I want to echo Judge Jack's comments. Thank everybody for inviting us. It is indeed an honor to be here, and I might point out too, Judge Mark Brownlick is seated in the back. Judge Mark is part of circuit court as well, handles the family division for us, which handles mostly divorce cases and things like that. But to get to the question on the IDC, Judge Jack and myself have both been involved in this. And frankly, looking at the Indigent Defense Council system, they basically started with Monroe as the blueprint to kick this off, and it has evolved into different standards now. But the long and the short of it is to make sure that indigent criminals have adequate representation through all steps of the legal proceedings. And we're looking at anywhere from close to 1.2, even though that's not the number that we're seeing at this point, but about $1.2 million that will go into this. And it will be that a criminal defendant has somebody at every stage. That goes from arraignment to probable cause conference, preliminary examinations, all the way through circuit court and things like that. So we have been proactive on it. Even before the standards were passed, we were working on it. Monroe, in my opinion, doesn't relate just to the courts, but it goes to all business. It goes even with the Port Commission. We have always been at the forefront of leading things in this state, and that's something I'm very proud of. And I can say that your court system is doing the same thing as well. Thank you, Doug.
Thank you. Thank you.
So we talked a little bit about the mental health court, but I think it's important for the audience to know that our mental health services start even before somebody enters into the court system. In fact, we've partnered with the Mental Health Authority for a number of years in terms of embedding them within our correctional facility. And through the Mental Health Authority, we received some grant funding to make sure that they were in place in our correctional facility where, unfortunately, we have a captive audience, and there's a high number of those residents of the facility who need those services. Troy, can you talk a little bit about how that began and that precursor to somebody going to the court system and Judge Vitale's mental health court?
Yes, and thank you. And again, thanks to all the sponsors. I think it's important to point out that every day when we open up the news or we see the news on the TV or whatever media you choose to use, there's a nexus between the activity that's occurring in our society and mental health. I don't care what it is that you look at. So in 2013, I was assigned to the jail division, and shortly thereafter, we quickly realized, that a number of our inmates suffered from mental health illness. Judge Brownlick and I met with some of the county officials and said, how can we address this problem? Our opinion was our jail is to house people that are a threat to society and not people that merely suffer from mental health and don't have the cognitive ability to understand what they're doing or stand up in trial for what they're doing. So with that being said, we were asked to submit a grant to the state of Michigan, a pilot grant to fund mental health jail diversion. And I don't want it to be confused with the jail diversion, meaning we put them in this program and they no longer spend time in jail. That's absolutely contrary to what it is, quite frankly. What we did is, with this grant, our goal, our objective was to identify individuals coming into the jail who suffer from mental health illness, get them the tools necessary or provide them the tools necessary to become productive members of society when they return to the streets, proper housing, transportation, and the continuity of care, whether it be mental health or psychotropic drugs. I'm happy to say, we were awarded 1 out of 8 counties in the state of Michigan a $125,000 grant to launch our initiative with our partnership with Community Mental Health. And it's important to note that without the support of the Board of Commissioners and our mission and goal to deliver this service, it wouldn't have come to fruition. We launched the program. Following the first 18 months of implementation, we were also assigned a statistician team from Michigan State University. They evaluated all the data we sent to them. In the first 18 months, we reduced jail recidivism for the individuals that we targeted, went from 32 to 24%. So keep in mind that to incarcerate someone in jail is $60 a day. To treat them in the mental health system is $28. What gives us a better return on our investment? It's treating them, giving them the tools to be productive members of society. To date, our annual funding for that program through the grant is $247,000. We've also launched additional initiatives to address the opioid program, or opioid crisis in our community. It's called the SOR grant, Start Opioid Recovery. Again, I'm happy to say that we received $400,000 on December 1st. We're partnering with Kent County to start an opioid recovery program in the jail as well. Our mental health program also complements the mental health division, the mental health court. As Judge Vitale indicated, we have 5 full-time employees in the mental health division assigned strictly to the corrections division. And with the new SOR grant, we will have 5 individuals, again, partnering with Community Mental Health, assigned to tackle the opioid crisis in our community from a different perspective other than arresting our way out of it or educating our public.
Perfect. Thank you, Troy. We're going to move on to our Drain Commissioner, David Thompson. And David, last year looked like a pretty busy year with drainage projects, water and sewer plant improvements. The county board backed a $26 million financing program. Can you tell us a little bit about those projects, what's being completed, and maybe what's in the works?
Absolutely. Thank you for the question. I'd like to thank everyone for being here. It's great to be in a room with such distinguished members of our community and a very distinguished panel here that I'm sitting with. Yes, our office has been very, very busy. As Drain Commissioner, I'm responsible for over 1,100 county drains, several thousand miles of drain in our county. We have the most county drains of any county in the state of Michigan. So obviously that keeps us very, very busy. Currently under construction is Sandy Creek and the North Branch of Sandy Creek, which totaled is about 24 miles of drain, which is a huge project. We're working on about 50 miles of new drain projects from 2018. We are doing a few things a little bit different with our drain projects. You may notice that we are removing every tree within the channel of the drain. We find that this is going to help us, especially with the emerald ash borer, which has caused the ash trees to die. Those limbs and branches and trees are falling in, creating blockages and drainage difficulties. So by removing the deadfall, removing those trees out of the channel of the drain, we are giving the residents a longer term on their clean out before they will need to be cleaned again. I've been with the Drain Commissioner's Office. I'm in my 25th year. Typical average prior to my taking office was about 18 to 25 years on a drain life, and we are working to extend that to 30 to 40 years. I always say if I'm going to get in your pocket with a drain assessment, I want to give you something for your money. So we're also, and it's a soil erosion best management practice, but we are peeling the bank back on a more gradual slope, a 2-to-1 slope, and this should also give us not only additional soil erosion control, but give you a longer life on your drain project. You know, back in the 70s, 80s, even into the 90s, they were just doing a little scoop on the bottom of the drain, which would give you immediate relief. The problem is you can only do that so many times until the side banks get so heavy that they slough in. And that causes, obviously, more work to be done, which means more money that I have to assess for. Last year, I turned in about a $2.88 million assessment roll to the county at large. We have about 30 projects that are currently under construction for our county drains. I did receive 2 years ago a $600,000 SAW grant, which allowed us to digitize all of our drain files going back to 1860, which is a great tool for us. It allows us to access our information quicker. Plus, we were able to create a base map of the county and all the drains and its jurisdiction, where it begins, where it ends legally, which is something that we never had in our office before. Of course, we're sharing all of that data with various government agencies, Road Commission, for example, so that we can get all that information out to our residents. So it's been a very, very busy time in the drain world. Putting on a different hat, we'll talk about water and sewer. Currently, we have been negotiating with the City of Toledo on a new contract for South County Water. South County Water is a water distribution system from Lunapier, LaSalle, Bedford, and Erie Townships. It serves about 12,000 taps, about 30,000 customers. About 8 years ago, a contract was signed with the City of Toledo that was not very beneficial, because basically they said, if you want water, here you go. And it involved a 75% surcharge. Ourselves and Sylvania Township are subject to this. But we've all gotten together, all the outlying communities, to try to reason with Toledo, the City of Toledo, so that they understand that these rates are not fair and equitable. We've been, myself and my deputy, Tim Sergo, have been in negotiations with them for nearly 3 years. I can tell you that, of course, with our legal counsel, Tom Graham, we are making progress, and I think we're just about there on a new contract that's going to be very beneficial. It'll be a uniform contract, which means that all communities who receive water from the City of Toledo will be treated equally, and which is all we really ask, is fair and equitable water. So that's real good news. We put a lot of work in there. Our big projects, the sewer, the $26 million in sewer funds, are for 2 areas. One is Bedford Wastewater Treatment Plant, and the other is the Village of South Rockwood. The Village of South Rockwood pumps their sanitary sewer underneath the Huron River into Wayne County. Their pump station was built in the late 60s, was dilapidated, and of course we're maintaining the system for them. It was dilapidated. Every time it would rain, it would get debris, clog the pumps. The pumps are old. They're not able to chop that debris up to be able to send it in. So I was having to allocate personnel every time it rained to go up to the Village of South Rockwood. So I met with them and said, folks, I'm not serving you well because you need a new pump station. The money you're spending in personnel and overtime, you could build a new station. So I'm happy that they went out for a SAW grant, which stands for stormwater and, sewer and water. from the state, and they were able to get low interest financing through the SRF program, State Revolving Fund, and they are currently under construction with a lining project for their inflow infiltration into their sanitary sewers, as well as a new station. And that's going to be about a $1.5 million project. The bigger project is the Bedford Wastewater Treatment Plant, which was built in 1969. We still, and of course this is where, and that's where I started my career, we still had some original equipment operating down there that really only was supposed to have a lifespan of about 30 years. But we've had excellent staff who's maintained it and kept it going, but we're at the point now where this original equipment has to be updated. So we are implementing a $22 million project there. I did get just under $1 million in SAW grants to do the engineering and studying to make us eligible for the low interest financing through the state SRF program. So we got about 2% interest on that money. That project is going to also be more environmentally friendly. For example, we are eliminating the use of chlorine gas and going to ultraviolet for our disinfection. We will also be saving the residents that pay those sewer rates on power. In addition to those areas, I also maintain the Ida Raisinville lagoon system, the LaSalle sanitary pumping system, and the Village of Maybe's sanitary sewer system. So that kind of incorporates a lot of the responsibilities that I have here in the county.
Thank you, David. We have a tendency to take for granted here in Monroe County this extensive drainage system that we already have throughout the county because of our relatively high water table, relatively shallow bedrock. The systems that we have, the water and sewage utilities that we have.
And the Lake Erie hasn't been my friend this year either.
No doubt about it. Nor the wind, right?
Nor the wind.
So thank you for all the hard work you and your staff have done throughout the years. So.
Mr. Gramlich, you run one of our operations that never seems to sleep, or it shouldn't, our 911 center. Last year, the voters approved a 911 surcharge. Can you tell us a little bit about the value of that surcharge, and what are you going to do with the money that was collected on that surcharge? What's up first? What are the big priorities?
Yep. Good morning, and thank you to the sponsors and those of you that are here this morning. I tell people all the time it's an honor to serve as a 911 director here in Monroe County. We have, if you haven't been there, we have one of the state-of-the-art facilities, not only here in Michigan, but throughout the United States. So you can have the nicest building, but without the technology and the equipment, it really doesn't do you any good. So a credit to the 911 District Board, the Board of Commissioners, and Mr. Masonic. We worked really hard last year and put together a core group. First Lieutenant Cuevas, now retired from the state police, really wrote the blueprint for us, and we were successful in our surcharge effort in August. Once the surcharge effort was successful, we immediately looked at our technology in the field. The radios that the first responders carry are 15 to 20 years old, and they've reached end of life. They can no longer be repaired, and we're seeing a lot of them fail to work for us, and we don't have a good backup in place. To replace those is about $6,000 per radio. We realized that we could have quite a savings if we pulled that together and we made a one-time purchase. And with the help of Mr. Masonic, we were able to purchase 1,155 radios, plus all the accessories for those radios at $4.1 million, which was a little over $3.1 million in savings from the initial cost. We'll be able to outfit police and fire services throughout Monroe County with those radios that we expect to have another 10 to 15-year life cycle for us. One of the other pieces that we will be looking at through the surcharge funding is 800 megahertz paging for our fire services. It's probably a couple of years down the road, but it's a step forward. One of the biggest issues we face is technology changes. New technology's out about every 4 to 6 months, and you really have to stay ahead of that curve. So we've got some of those out in the field now that we're testing individually on the VHF side. I'd like to work in 2019 to bring the 800 megahertz paging side into dispatch, so we have the capability to do some more testing. But Monroe County has been a front runner with Motorola. Was it 60 years, Mike, we believe? Monroe has worked with Monroe County for at least 60 years, possibly more, and has been a good partner to us to bring equipment here to the county.
Since I started with the county.
Yep. And just a couple of other technology points. Phone system. A lot of people don't think about it, but the phone system at Central Dispatch has a 5-year life cycle. It's a $250,000 project every 5 years, and the phone systems are changing so fast. They've been able to integrate them with CAD. We're looking at a solution to be able to talk countywide throughout all applications, dispatching for police, fire, and we do dispatch MCA. They have their own dispatch center, but we contact them for ambulances here. We do a lot of work with Major Goodenough in the jail. We're the after-hours contact for almost every agency here in Monroe County that doesn't run 24 hours. So we're currently a staff of 24. With technology, sometimes you can do better with less. In the 911 field, that's not the case. We look to bring text to 911 to Monroe County sometime this year. And with that, we look to increase our staffing by at least 2 more in the next 2 years. So a lot of good things going on with the surcharge monies here in Monroe County.
Great, thank you. Mr. Chairman, heard a lot of good things. I have a front row seat with the Board of Commissioners, every one of their board meetings, and I know that the board has been an active supporter of everything that you just heard, whether it's backing, bonding, back in the courts, whatever they were looking for in terms of specialty courts. And these are kind of initiatives that are even outside of the Board of Commissioners. Mr. Chairman, can you talk a little bit about the board's 2019 initiative? What we may see going forward in terms of the Board of Commissioners, and I know you have your organizational meeting this evening.
Is this working? Is it working now? Excellent. First, I'd echo all the other panelists' thanks and accolades to our host, the Chamber, and its sponsors. But I'd like to specifically recognize my fellow commissioners here, Commissioner Moore, Commissioner Hoffman. I apologize to anyone I have missed, and also a former commissioner, I believe Senator Zorn is in attendance this morning. And so before he was demoted to senator, he was a noble commissioner. I'll catch grief for that later. As chair, just a brief introduction. I'm a leader of equals, so it's easy to accept accolade in that role, but that isn't possible without the superb support of my fellow commissioners and a more than excellent staff. Mr. Bosonic, Ms. Armstrong in HR, and our excellent legal counsel, Phil Goldsmith and Tom Graham. Over the past few years, we have gone from the 2009 financial crisis and have excelled. And we did that through having a vision and priorities. And if I could sum 2 of those overarching priorities, was first, working on our local partnerships. And so with that, the question I had before is some of the things in 2019. And I broke that down into 3 main partnership themes. First, to continue to support economic development efforts of the BDC and the Monroe Link Plan. This second, this year we plan to roll out our geographic information system on a shared platform and database among all the local units of government and related agencies for applications in land use, planning, records, and again, those economic development initiatives. And third, we continue to work on our partnerships in an effort to address the DTE property tax appeal on the 2 plants within the county. So that's one of our first priorities, is working on and facilitating, encouraging those local partnerships. Next, and as it relates specifically to the board, is our ever enduring and deep concern for public safety. Our budget is approximately 50% dedicated to public safety. And I'm proud to announce that with continuing financial sound planning and even some reserves in this past year, we've been able to add additional members to law enforcement, additional deputies and correction officers. But getting down more in the specifics with public safety this year, and Mr. Gramlich touched on it in more detail, is providing new public safety radios. In addition, we're leading the effort to deploy a new record management system that would be used by all agencies within the county to share information and management practices. Thank you.
Thank you, Henry. I'm going to move to Stacy Goins with Michigan Works, Director of Employment and Training. We recognize, since this is a chamber event, we recognize the demand for talent, and as our employee experience team here at Monroe Bank and Trust calls it, the war for talent. Michigan now has the Marshall Plan for Talent, and I know you've been involved with a Michigan or Monroe County Link initiative. Can you talk a little bit about what that plan and what that funding source might do for us here in Monroe County?
Sure. Good morning to everybody here. For those of you who don't know, the Marshall Plan for Talent came out at the end of Governor Snyder's term, and talent consortiums around the state of Michigan were able to apply for grant dollars to come into their local communities to help build that talent pipeline. Monroe County, we were actually way ahead of the game because of the Monroe County Link project. We basically had our talent consortium already together. For our pillar, which is building the talent acquisition, we already had our K-12 institutions at the table, we had employers at the table, we had our community college with us, and we were able to come together and we started looking at how can we bring those dollars to Monroe County. The ISD has been spearheading the grant writing, and there were only 9 communities that were chosen to go on in the entire state to round 2. So we're refining our grant, and what that would do is bring money to Monroe County to develop certificate programming that would look at taking kids who are finishing high school, going into college, and giving them additional training so that we have employers here in Monroe County that can pull right out of that pipeline and put these people to work. At Michigan Works, we always look at adult learners as well, because we always know people are either looking to change careers or enhance their skill set. For us, it's interesting, Monroe County has a very low unemployment rate right now, which means a lot of people are working. And that for us, it's great, first of all, because that means that we have a booming economy, but we're looking at trying to get people who want to upskill. We want them to go back and get additional training dollars. We have some grant programs that we are working with the community college on to sort of look at how can we give members of our community a more advanced skill set. We're actually struggling to find people who are interested in free school. So if you know anybody, please send them our way. We would love to talk to them about that opportunity. We're looking right now in advanced manufacturing. It's a huge opportunity here in Monroe County. And right now, until the Marshall Plan comes to our area, what we're doing is partnering with the Business Development Corporation. We're going out, we're talking to local businesses, we're finding out what skills do you need and how can we help. And then we're partnering with our K-14 institutions to come up with certificate programs for locally recognized credentials that we can take people, put them through, and they can go to any local employer and they will know this person coming out can do these skills. Walking into their floor. We're hoping that that will help employers hire people entry level and move them through a process where they can advance their skills and they can promote from within.
Can you talk just a little bit about where you see the most demand for skill sets and perhaps where some of the gaps are that we have?
So right now our demand is high in advanced manufacturing, or any type of manufacturing really. So a lot of people, myself included, you're like, what's advanced manufacturing? So that's pretty much anything that's going to involve, it's not your grandpa's factory. You're not walking into a factory anymore and seeing maybe what you might imagine. It's a dirty shop. It's, everybody's working on, there's computers. Everything is being programmed. There's a lot higher skill set. So what we're looking for right now is advanced manufacturing. We have a lot of businesses in Monroe County who are looking for people who have basic skills. And we, in our pre-apprenticeship program that we're doing with the community college through one of our grants, we're looking at giving skill sets in, say, blueprint reading, OSHA, shop math. These are basic things that they can walk into any manufacturing facility. We're also seeing growth in healthcare still. A lot of that is entry level, so we're looking at CNA and then working up that career ladder. And we still see growth in information technology, which really touches a lot of industries, depending on what you do with that. We're seeing a high growth there. And then still in Monroe County specifically, we see a growth in retail and hospitality. According to Wynn, they're saying that we're trending in the next few years. That's gonna be one of our higher growth areas.
Okay, thanks, Dave. Thanks for the work you do.
Thank you.
Kim, Troy touched a little bit about what's happening with the opioid treatment programs within the correctional facility. Can you talk a little bit about opioid in our community in a broader context? I know that the Board of Commissioners approved some additional funding. We had the highest number of autopsies conducted by our medical examiner's office in like the last 10 years. But within those numbers, can you give us a little insight on that? And then if you could pivot off of that into, there's a community health assessment that was done. Where's our progress on that as a community?
Okay, so yeah, first of all, we kind of try and watch those drug deaths based on we kind of look at it by age and the amount and what drugs are found. We like to move it upstream a little bit and try to do some work around that prior to having to deal with the drug deaths. We have seen a bit of a decrease for 18. We kind of see them go up and down, but we started to see over the years the drug deaths really increasing. And looking at the age, it was in our younger population, so that was very concerning to me. What I'm going to say about the opioid use, obviously, Monroe County's not we're not unique in this problem, in this situation. The rest of the state, the rest of the country is really kind of dealing with opioids as well. But it takes a partnership and it takes collaboration. And this county I'm very proud to say this county, that's the one thing we do really, really, really well, or it is one of the things we do really, really well. Collaboration, partnership is what it's all about, and it takes a community to deal with this problem. So in terms of, I guess I look at it in treatment and prevention. So on the treatment side, there's a number of campaigns that are happening around treatment and increasing treatment, expanding programs, targeting populations such as adolescents and pregnant women. Catholic Charities of Monroe actually recently opened their St. Joseph Center for Help, which is an engagement center which allows them, and it's right on the hospital campus. Huge partnership there, a lot of people to thank for being able to get that engagement center up and running. I know that they've served over 50 admissions since they opened in November. So patients are being seen in the emergency room, they're getting tied to a peer recovery counselor, they're getting, the engagement center can house them, hold them there and get them into treatment, make referrals, get them where they need to be, depending on where they are in their change process or their willingness to accept treatment. Different medication takebacks are happening, special ones. There's the 6 red med boxes that are in law enforcement offices through the county. There's also the Board of Commissioners sponsors a few additional medication takebacks events throughout the year. So we partner with those. We have naloxone in I think every patrol car now, so that save can happen. That's the drug that actually counters an overdose if it's happening. Let me think if there's anything. Oh, Catholic Charities also has a peer recovery coach in the emergency room. So there is someone there to actually, when a person walks in, there's somebody to kind of hold their hand and walk them down that path. And many times, someone who's walked the walk is the person that can help someone else down the same path. So that's on the treatment side. Prevention, there's a number of things happening with prevention. The Substance Abuse Coalition brings a lot of different agencies together, and a lot of work happens with them. The Student Prevention Leadership Teams, which is called SPLIT, is in every single school in this community. They do a ton of great work. They just had their first youth summit. If you recall, many of you may recall years ago when we started through the prosecutor's office and Substance Abuse Coalition started a drug summit. That has now been changed over. This was the first time this year, 2018, that they did an all-youth summit. So it was focused on the different prevention, substance abuse in the morning part of the session. The afternoon session was around mental health awareness, and that's huge, and those two problems tie together in many situations. So I was very happy to see over 500 students, or right around 500 students from the high schools participating, engaging. It was a nice thing. So there is a lot of work happening throughout the county in terms of treatment and prevention. Okay, my second part of that question is the community health assessment, right?
Yes.
Okay, so.
Briefly, because we've got one question. It's spring is sprung, and we're going to get everybody out early today, so we'll have one follow-up question.
Community health assessment, really quickly. This is our second round of doing a very comprehensive. We have an agency actually that conducts the surveys, gets it out to, it's a mailed survey. It goes to a number of people. Community health assessment goes out, people fill it out. All the results are compiled. We review those results. The 2018 just occurred. We will now start to have community health improvement plan meetings to determine those priority areas. It's a huge partnership through the Building Healthy Communities Coalition, which is chaired by the health department. But this assessment was funded by the ProMedica Monroe Regional Hospital, so I want to make sure that we identify them as a partner. So that's where we are. The CHIP meetings, Community Health Improvement Plan meetings, will be happening later this month. There's 4 of them. We'll have a plan, and we'll start to focus our priority areas and the betterment of the community's health overall.
Thank you, Kim. We'll get you out on this final question for Chief Judge Weipert. We've had a number of high-profile criminal cases in the Monroe County Courthouse, the historic courthouse, in the last year, 2 years. Can you reflect back on a couple of those and what's been the philosophy in terms of the judiciary with those kinds of cases that are out there, whether they're criminal prosecutions of drug offenders and pill pushers, those kinds of cases that you've had before you?
Well, I think the most infamous case everybody knows is the Chelsea Bruck case. I don't know if you can really put a good spin on anything like that, but what the judiciary has been doing, it goes from all courts, from district court probate to circuit court. We are now under what are called performance standards by the Supreme Court, and we try to meet those standards, and that is, like in a criminal case, you are to get your case done in less than 1 year's time. Now, some cases take longer to do that, but take the Chelsea Bruck case, which was huge. We had a lot of publicity, we had a lot of people there. Working with the county and all the other courts, that case went off remarkably well with all the people that attended and the significance that it had. And it was working with the county board, working with Mr. Masonic and his staff, just did a beautiful, beautiful job. So we have those high-profile cases. We have another one now pending before the court, which had a significant amount of cocaine trafficking going through the community. That's before the courts now. Several of them. We see all sorts of criminal sexual conduct cases on the rise. Judge Vitale sees this all the time in district court because they start there and then they come up before us. But the goal is to move these cases and not let them linger in the least bit, and we don't do that. We try to follow these performance standards and get them done. On the civil end, our performance standards require us to get civil cases done in less than 2 years' time. What would be significant for an organization like this is circuit court has a business court, and that is where true business cases, where it's two businesses that are suing each other, they are put on an expedited docket. The cases have arisen when it first started, like in 2014, from 2 cases all the way up to 15 in 2017. So the whole goal is to get good, quick, efficient justice to everybody that's involved. I will tell you this, that the majority of court proceedings are always open to the public. You are always welcome to attend, come in and watch what we do. We welcome that so that you can see your judiciary at work. And I'm very proud to say we have one of the most outstanding benches currently in the county of Monroe that, in my opinion, we outwork everybody else and we make good decisions, and I am extremely proud of that. Extremely proud to call all 8 judges that we now have great colleagues of mine. I don't know, Mr. Sonic, if that really answers the question, but we're trying to do everything as efficiently and expeditiously for you as possible.
Great response. When you have the microphone, it's your response. So, and I'll just kind of close up. We'll have a minute or two for a question if there are any questions available. You know, I think this panel was able to demonstrate the seriousness of which they take their leadership role in our community. I know I'm really proud of the work that they do each and every day. But most importantly, we wanted to make sure that the communities are proud about the work that they're doing each and every day. And this is just part of our team. There's a big county team. As I indicated earlier, they work really well together. As Chief Judge Vitale once in a while will say, work really well together. Sometimes we need a little marriage counseling, but we keep that to ourselves. But generally, there is a tremendous spirit of cooperation within this organization. And in some of the remarks you heard, there's collaboration and partnerships with other community agencies. We can't do these things alone. They can't do it alone. So it's these partnerships that allow our community to move forward. With that, I want to thank Doug for assisting in this endeavor. Are there a question or two from the audience that we didn't answer that you thought maybe was going to be part of the discussion this morning? Comment? All right. Thank you very much. Enjoy the beautiful day.